Thanks for watching Afternoon Live. Our next guest knows what it's like to deal with setbacks, and in honor of Women's History Month, she's released a new book that helps readers turn those setbacks into paths to success. We welcome the author of The Setback Cycle, How Defining Moments Can Move Us Forward, Amy Shoenthal. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having me.
So tell me about why it was so important for you to get this project out during this special month.
Well, I have been interviewing founders and leaders for the better part of the past decade or so, and it just seemed like every conversation revealed that what led them to their biggest success or their creative rebirth always stemmed from some sort of bump backwards. And I couldn't understand what was happening, so I kept digging into it. And when I came across the definition of a setback, it is truly a reversal or check in progress, and that's always what it was. So I started talking to neuroscientists and executive coaches to understand this cycle that we go through. And hey, if these leaders are finding their creative rebirth and finding all this success after setbacks, how can someone like you or I do the same? And that's how I came across the setback cycle.
Yeah, you often hear about celebrities or business people talking about a failure or a rejection that really set them on a path to success after that.
That's right. And there's actually science behind this. When our brains undergo setbacks, it's a dip in the dopamine. And it's those dips that cause rewiring and learning. And a neuroscientist was able to prove in her lab that people who undergo setbacks are better at problem solving, reasoning, and logic. And so it makes sense.
Yeah, it really does. And you've been able to examine this through that lens. And can you tell us about some of your own setback story?
Oh, of course. I mean, having a setback is a universal human experience. And I didn't quite realize it at the time, but through the years that I was writing this book, I was working through my own career setback. My story is the story of millions of caregivers, parents, people across the country who leave the workforce temporarily to have a child, to go on maternity leave, to care for someone else. And when they come back, unfortunately, the job is not what it once was, and opportunities once available to them shrivel away. When I returned from maternity leave, I was removed from accounts that I had worked so hard to build, and I was in the process of rebuilding my career in a way as I was writing this book. So it makes sense that I was drawn to the concept of setbacks, and I was so curious to learn about how these successful founders and leaders persevered through their own and came out the other side. So my emerge phase is the publication of this book, and I hope that it will help other people emerge from their setbacks, whether they're small ones or really big life-changing ones.
Yeah, that's such a wonderful perspective. And then once we understand the cycle and the science behind it, your book offers the tools where we can use that knowledge and improve our own position in life.
That's right. Yeah, it's a 4-phase cycle. It starts with establishing that you're in a setback, then embracing it and gleaning the information, receiving the information to really evaluate what happened, what you can learn, and to start to plot the path forward. Then you go explore your options, which is the most fun phase. And then you get to the last phase of the setback cycle, which is emerge.
There you go. And this is really timely because a lot of industries, especially in the tech world, have been dealing with so many rounds and rounds of layoffs. Do you have helpful advice to share or just kind of words of encouragement for folks who are feeling really stressed and lost right now?
Absolutely. One of the people I interviewed for this book was Stacy London, and her quote, and I also experienced a layoff during the writing of this book.
Oh, wow.
And one of her quotes that really stuck with me as I was working through my own and really helps other people is, "Getting fired was the best thing that ever happened to me." And I didn't understand it when she said it, but I understood it once I worked through the fallout after my own layoff, and I started my own business, and I did more freelance writing, and I did consulting, and all these people around me now who are reading the book and telling me that they were laid off. And months later, people start to reflect on their experience and realize, hey, maybe that job wasn't serving me. Maybe I wasn't fulfilling all that I am capable of in that role. And now they're going out and they're seeking other opportunities. Unfortunately, it's happening by necessity, but necessity is the mother of invention. So it's true that after you emerge from a setback, you really get a sense of the transformation and the possibilities ahead of you, and you start to really see all that you're capable of.
And that
it's incredible.
perspective is so nice after the fact, but how do you check in with yourself in the moment when you're feeling so down and it's hard to see the possibilities and new opportunities in those dark times?
It's so hard. And look, unfortunately, this book is not going to be some sort of silver bullet to when you're feeling your lowest of lows. It's not going to fast forward you through your setback. But at least if you read through it and you are armed with the tools and the questions to ask and the guidance that you need and the inspiration from the stories of leaders and founders and everyday people who have been through similar experiences, you'll know that, okay, I need to sort of sit with the information, deal with the fallout of what I've just been through, and there is hope on the other side of this. This is an optimistic book. It's realistic, but it's optimistic, and it will give you that, again, that sense of how to get to your creative rebirth and how to get somewhere better than the original path that you were on.
Yeah, a lot of times just simply knowing that you're not alone makes all the difference in the world. Hey, thank you so much for joining us. It was great chatting with you today.
Thank you so much for having me. It was great chatting with you too.
Of course, the book again is The Setback Cycle, and we'll have more information on our website at katu.com. We'll be right back with more Afternoon Live right after this.